Have you noticed Barack Obama is getting a lot of really good publicity from the mainstream media? We're not the first ones to tell you about that. However, we have told you, and since then you've probably noticed. Well, those are the big three of TV network news, and guess what? They're going to be tagging along with Barack Obama as he makes, finally, at long last, that trip over to the Middle East.
Yeah, they say that in defense of their trip, because they haven't necessarily always been on John McCain's trips, you know, it's his first trip over there in a long time. So we're going to go and cover it, and he may make some major news. And, you know, he is going to probably create big news over there because he's taking some interesting people along with him as well, like Republicans, like Chuck Hagel, who could be his VP pick. But he's also, I find it interesting, he's taking people who are experts in foreign policy.
But because he's not.
You could argue that.
He's not.
But he also wrote that op-ed before he even got there, Brian. So will he write a new one when he returns?
2 definitive foreign policy speeches already before he went, before he had a chance to look up.
This is how I'm going to feel when I come back.
This is without chairing his subcommittee on Afghanistan or holding a committee meeting for all those times. So you would think he'd go over there and take everything in, but instead he's making his policies first, and now all 3 network anchors are going to be following him around. They're all promised a one-on-one, and the thing is, if you look at total minutes spent covering each candidate, they've done a study, 114 minutes covered on national news, if you still watch that. 114 minutes on Barack Obama, 48 for John McCain. This is what John McCain's up against. He's been there a bunch of times. I'm sure the invitation's still out to Charlie Gibson, Brian Williams, and Katie Couric for the John McCain's trip.
Let's remember why Barack Obama is even going on this trip. A lot of people would argue that it's because John McCain challenged him to go with him to Iraq because he hadn't been there in 900 days. He said, you know, Senator Obama, you should really take a look at the success of the surge. And so, in a lot of ways, I wonder if they'll report that part of it. Will they report
Well, you can't help it. If you don't report the success of things on the ground with casualties down 85%. In fact, the front page of the New York Times, of all places, says, everyone looks forward to meeting Barack Obama, including some of the Iraqi generals. And they said, we're just not too big on his policies. We just don't want the army to leave yet.
It's curious. If you look at Barack Obama's website over the last couple of days, they have actually gone back and revised what he has stood for, and in fact in the past he has said that the surge is not working. Now they have modified the language to talk about how the surge is improving.
But don't you think of all the potential flip-flops of both political candidates at this point in time, that the Iraq war, if he would flip on that, that would be the biggest one, because he basically started his entire campaign and got so much grassroots support because he was against the war.
And look at MoveOn.org. They threw their 3 million members behind him because of his support to get us out as quickly as possible, and for him to flip on that, he has flipped on a whole bunch of other stuff.
But he still is against the war.
No, but the big thing was he said he wanted the troops to come home immediately, and that's why a heck of a lot of people voted for him.
See, I think this is a positive. Like I thought John McCain was a positive when he talked about drilling and said, I was against it, but it's an emergency. If he looks at things on the ground and says, I'm against the war, but I got to tell you, I was very impressed with General Petraeus told me, and I would slow down the withdrawal. I will adjust to what's happening on the ground. I thought two of those examples...
He'll be annihilated with that comment.
2 of those examples are examples of leadership, don't you think?
Potentially, but he'll be annihilated because his original stance was so strong, and he based his entire beginning of his campaign on that message. I think it'll be a problem for him, even though it may be right.
All right.